What's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2, and today I'm going to be giving you part 3 of What If Naruto Was a 10,000-year-old vampire god. Remember to get this one to 100 likes as usual, share this to all of your friends on your social media platform, and also guys, don't forget to go ahead and check out the other channels if you're new. Yes guys, I have 4 more channels that I post What If on every single day for you guys to enjoy. The links will be down in the description, so go ahead and smash that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. So without further ado, or wasting any more time, what do you say we jump right into this brand new episode begin now guys? So, the last part that we left off, Jiraiya was on the hunt as he was trying to find Mito. Yes, hearing that she had fled the village, knowing how truly dangerous this world could be, he had to find her before something bad happened. As he was the one that was responsible, he was supposed to be her godfather, to be there for her, but instead of being there, he had the time. Yes, his spy network was difficult to handle, but he had the time to at least be there for her, but he was not. That was just bad on his part. That is why he was pushing everything that he got to find her immediately. We then skip towards Mito as she was on a boat. Her and Naruto as they were heading towards the Mist Village. She was now 10 years old. A lot has happened to her in the past couple of years that she's been spending with Naruto. For one thing, she now knew that he was a vampire. It happened because she was outside training one night late. She was supposed to be in bed, but she went out training and she came across a vampire feeding on someone. He was faster than her, and she was afraid. She screamed as he rushed towards her. However, when she reopened her eyes, the vampire was slammed into the ground so hard, cracks were all over. He backed away from the person. Standing there was none other than Naruto. Mito was shocked when she saw the vampire and look on his face. He was terrified. He was petrified in fear as he saw Naruto. Naruto disappeared with him, but not before the vampire called him the king of all vampires. Mito wanted answers after that. She was shocked. Naruto did not seem like one. The others, well, it was just one that she ever came across, but their skin seemed pale and cold. But Naruto's skin seemed healthy and normal, so she was rather confused why. He did not seem like one of them. He told her that he was a much older one. So yes, he was not like the weaker younger generations. He was far older. There was a lot that he was keeping from her, a lot that she did not know about, but that was not important now. As for the mist, Yagura has been running the village out of hand, and he's not been seen for a few months now. Things were getting truly bad there, as a couple of the loyalists, because they have the power, they believe that they can go around doing anything that they please, harassing, bullying people, because they were now in charge and no one can tell them what to do. Yes, it was a lot on the populace there. Mito wanted answers because Naruto was taking her there, someone that could train her. She asked why didn't he go and do something about it, given the fact that he was this powerful. She begged him to help the people there, and it didn't take much for him to agree. The Fox and Naruto had a conversation recently. The Fox believed that Naruto was trying to look good in her eyes, because if she truly knew who he was, she would run for the hills. Naruto did not say that the Fox was wrong. he was not a good person in the slightest, but his connection to Mito was deeper than she ever knew. So with that, they finally arrived towards the location. While that was going on, the woman, known as Amara, she had a portrait of herself. She looked younger, and Naruto was in the background. There was also another person there. She had a deep-seated hatred for Naruto, so much that she was acquiring Orochimaru with whatever he need to become stronger. She wanted to make him very powerful so he could kill Naruto for her. Orochimaru thought that the whole Vampire King was a sham. He heard rumors, he heard whispers, but he's never seen the person in his own view. However, this woman was older than most of the vampires that he came across. Older, and she was also immensely stronger. And unlike the others, she had power. Because once you die and became a vampire, well, you wouldn't have access to your chakra, but she was different. She would not tell him why she hated this person so much. However, Orochimaru would do as she pleased, as long as he get what he desire. He was going to become perfect. They finally arrived towards the location, Naruto and Mito, as they arrived to see a young girl. She was in the process of training. She was rather violent and asked them who they were, raising her weapons as they did not immediately identify themselves. As Naruto spoke to the man behind her, he called her Ajisai, telling her to lower her blade. The man behind her was known as Yamamoto, as Naruto wanted Yamamoto to teach Mito in the ways of blades. He asked her a question: why did she want to get stronger? Her answer pleased him, as he accepted her. Moments later, Naruto was speaking to Yamamoto. It turns out that Naruto was basically a father figure for him. Naruto had saved him years ago when he was just a child, and helped him. Naruto asked him a question if he hated him for abandoning him. Yamamoto told him of course not. If it wasn't for Naruto, he would be dead after all. So of course he did not hate him. Besides, he did something that he thought was right, that he had to move on, and Yamamoto did. He settled down, he had a family, he had children, as they were now living their happy life, away from Kiri, which he was glad, because there was just pure chaos going on here. But he refused to leave. He was born here, and he would stay here until he died. His wife was gone. Only thing that he could do now was pass on the teaching that Naruto was the one that taught him. As Naruto did not want to expose much of himself to Mito just yet, or tell her much things, he was trying to ease into it. Yamamoto was surprised when Naruto said that he was going to interfere with what was going on in Kiri, as he wasn't expecting that. Sometime later, Mei Terumi was... well, things were bad, as she realized that soon enough, they were going to run out of supplies. Yagura was trying to weaken them down by making sure that all the ports and everything was sealed off, so they could not acquire anything, and that was bad. Mei was rather surprised though when someone arrived. The person sent chills down her spine, as he told her that he would put it to an end. She was rather surprised to hear that, but she did not doubt this person. Just his words alone were enough to send shivers down her spine and made her feel terrified. The time frame that he gave her was correct, as she and her people arrived to see chaos taking place. Naruto was in the middle of slaughtering all the people that he could feel a taint on their soul, knowing that they would still try to cause a rebellion even if it came to an end. Yagura came out as he attacked Naruto. Naruto told him that he was here for him. Yagura had to draw upon the tail beast's power in order to cancel out some of the fear that he was feeling. But even then, it was so strong. Mei and her people finally came to a stop, as they could feel the dreadful feeling watching over them, surrounding them, swallowing them whole. They were terrified. So yeah guys, basically that's what I thought. If you guys can switch across the play, check it out for yourself. So let's begin this new episode. We begin this new episode with Mito and Ajisai. The both of them were trading blades. They had wooden sword, of course. Ajisai was far more advanced in Kinjutsu than Mito, so They were starting out with wooden blades. This would get Mito's skills up and also sharpen Ajisai openings that she had. The both of them clashed against each other until Ajisai was able to hit Mito in the side. I told you, no slacking off, Ajisai said. She became like a second teacher, given that she was far more advanced than Mito. She noticed a girl was looking behind her. What's wrong? She paused as well. They could see in the far distance a dark cloud hanging over, and it seemed to be spreading, getting wider and wider. Black lightning was resonating from that cloud. Now that wasn't normal. Meanwhile, Yamamoto was sipping his tea. As he placed the cup down, he gazed towards the cloud. He already knew who was behind that. Meanwhile, with the rebellion forces, Mei and her people came to a stop. She glanced towards her second in command. What can you see? She said. Ayu activated the Byakugan that was hidden under the band. However, to his surprise, I can't. What do you mean you can't? I cannot see anything past that wave of darkness, Ayo said. He was at a loss. How couldn't he see past it? It was like a thick, solid door that not even the Byakugan could see beyond. And that was truly startling. As the forces stood there, many of them were too afraid to even get close to it. The bloodlust that was reeking from down below was too much for them. Ayo, said Mei, you know what to do. With that, she jumped off, leaving him in control as she made her way. She had to see for herself. She had to confirm that Yagura was at least dead. She did not know who the mystery person was, but if that was the case, if they got a blessing from the skies, if someone was here to end Yagura's life, this would be much more simple for them, and they can move on with the rebuilding and the re-governing of Kiri. However, she was afraid that whoever this is might try to take a bigger toll than Yagura. What if this person turned against them and tried to conquer Kiri? She couldn't allow that to happen. She quickly made her way down there, trying to find out what was going on. The closer she got, the more she felt it. That terrifying feeling. She came to a stop when someone appeared in front of her. The first thing she noticed was his looks. He was extremely handsome. Blue eyes that sparkled like the sea, along with golden hair as he stood there. You should not be here, he said. Immediately, she recognized the voice. It was you, she said. His shadow started to extend. Mei prepared herself, not knowing if this was a sign of aggression against her. Suddenly, a whole bunch of bodies started to emerge from his shadow. Mei noticed that they were still alive. He spoke before she could say something. These are the ones that desire for the Civil War to come to an end. However, they have no choice but to engage, otherwise they risk their death and their family execution. She narrowed her gaze at him. And what about the others? She asked. Their souls are tainted. Their hate is too much. It cannot be changed. So I erased them, he said to her. She glanced over his shoulder as she could see. Inside of the darkness, all she saw was two figures moving. If you're out here, who's in there? Do not worry, he said, stepping towards her. All you need to know is that Yagura will be taken care of. Why? Not to be insensitive, but why are you doing this? She said to him. What are you hoping to gain? Nothing really, he said to her. Someone asked me to. As he started to walk, wait, who are you? He instantly appeared in front of her. She tried to move, but his arm wrapped her in her waist. That is not important right now. This area is not safe. Goodbye. Mei blinked as she was back on the platform with the others, along with the unconscious ninjas that lie by her side, all of them being teleported by his shadow. Ayo turned towards her. Misama? He said, confused. His eyes could not see anything down there, not even where Mei had stood. The strange aura that was in the air was able to cancel out the effects of the Byakugan. Meanwhile, inside of the Dome of Shadows, Yagura was currently leaning over, as he was like a miniature Three Tails. He was gathering a very destructive ball right in front of his face. The purple energy shot outwards. Standing in the path of destruction was none other than Naruto. He was calm and relaxed, despite the fact that the miniature bomb was going to make contact with him anytime soon. He then spoke. "The endless," he said. Suddenly, the shadows that surrounded him and Yagura converged. Everything froze, as everything, including Yagura, was bathed in the darkness. This plane where no light exists, and no sound exists, nothing exists in this plane of existence. When it cleared away, the Biju bomb was suddenly gone. Yagura was confused. However, he knew that he couldn't afford to waste time as he leaped forward, slashing at Naruto. Immediately, Naruto's palm opened up. His blood seemed to have a mind of its own as his blood turned into a weapon, a blade. It was solidified immediately. It had a black handle and a red blade. Naruto sliced. It tore through Yagura's arm. The limb of the Biju collapsed down. However, the chakra immediately evaporated. The tail beast snarled as the chakra started to regrow the arm. Yagura jumped forward as he slammed his hand down. Coral appeared over the ground and started to solidify everything. The moment it reached Naruto's feet, Naruto drove the blade inside of it. The coral exploded outwards, blocking Yagura's vision. The moment his eyes readjust, Naruto's feet send him sailing in the sky. Naruto held his hand out as the shadow from the darkness that was all around created a hand and crashed into his back. Yagura was sent spiraling down towards the ground. The shadow then came up as spikes. They tore into him, piercing through his stomach, his shoulder, one driving right into his throat. The tail beast whimpered on top of the shadowy spikes that seemed to be stronger than steel. Yagura released a bloodthirsty scream, rage, pain, and anger. A violent eruption of power took place. Naruto stood there as his coat was blown back. He reached up as he proceeded to unhook it. It flew away, exposing that he was wearing a tight black shirt, sleeveless, showing his rather muscular arms, but not too overly muscular. There was no scars or nothing at all on him. Just him in his tight black shirt and his grey pants. He stood there rather calm, waiting on Yagura to make a move. As he noticed the smoke started to clear away, 3 gigantic tails came down and eviscerated the entire area. Naruto was now standing in mid-air, looking down towards the 3 tails. Yagura was looking around until he looked up. The tail beast started to move until it started to spin on its side. It shot into the sky, trying to knock Naruto out of it. Naruto did not move though, as whips were created from the shadow and wrapped around all 3 of his tails, stopping him an inch away from Naruto. Naruto peered into his one eye that he could see. It was rather larger than him after all. "You know," Naruto said calmly, "it's been a long time since I used my physical strength." He pulled his arm back and dropped it into the face of the animal. The ear violently exploded. The body of the 3 tails hit the ground with a colossal bam. Naruto did not stop there though. He sent himself diving, moving through the sky like a missile as he cracked the back of the turtle shell. It violently exploded into pieces. Naruto flicked away as the thing howled out in pain and rage. Everyone could hear what was going on, but they could not see it. The tail beast started to gather its mightiest attack in its purest form. Naruto started to calmly walk. Can't you see that what you're doing here is pointless? The chance of you coming out on top, the chance of you winning against me, is absolute zero. There is nothing that you can do to win. Your power is insignificant. Maybe, if you were connected with all of your brethren and regain your full form as a Jubi, maybe then we could classify this as a battle. But right now, this is merely a warm-up, said Naruto. The destructive death ball was launched right towards him as the ground was being ripped apart. The area was being shattered. The blade in Naruto's hand turned into blood before it started to twist and turn until it turned into a mirror. Said mirror. The glass was pitch black, yet you could see everything on the other side reflected back towards it. Naruto extended his hand as it started to grow in size. The violent blast hit it and then it stopped. All of the power was contained and sucked inside of it. Naruto then brought his hand and pressed it along the ground. A massive construct erupted around the three tails. Pitch black mirrors, and deep inside of the darkness was the same ball of destructive energy. However, unlike before, it was not 1, nor 2, nor 3. It was 10. The three tails was baffled as they all emerged, and the blast was uncontainable. It even eviscerated where Naruto stood. All the darkness that Naruto had released in the area was knocked away. Everything was cleared away. The bodies of the fallen were turned into dust. The village, despite being a distance away, felt the tremors. Mito and also Achisai felt the violent rage from the mountaintop that they reside on. The house was trembling. All of the members, including Mei, had to leap away as the force of the blast, while not destructive because of their location, they still felt the horrendous wind and the feeling of chakra exploding outwards that went on for miles upon miles upon miles. Back to the site, Yagura's body was nowhere to be seen. The only thing that was visible was a dispersion of chakra until a funnel of sorts started to pull it out of the sky right into Naruto's palm. All the excess chakra of the three tails, which would reform over time, was being sucked right into Naruto's palm. Once he was done, he closed his hand. He then reopened his hand as there was a small, tiny orb inside of his hand with an excess of chakra floating around. He clenched his hand shut and it was gone. Everyone was just recovering from the violent, horrendous blasts. All the members that possess Earth style had to build a gigantic wall in order to protect the survivors of the onslaught. But even thus, their bodies were blown back. Luckily, the blast did not extend to literally harm them or shred them to pieces. Otherwise, they would have died in their sleep. Mei Terumi recovered rather quickly, as she was uninjured by it. She checked over her people before she rushed towards the epicenter of the chaos. She wanted to see it with her eyes. She wanted to know that it was over. When she arrived, she came across that same man. He was just standing there, gazing out at nothing. She slowly approached, making sure to not let him know of her presence. As she slowly made her way, she observed him to see what he was up to. See something you like? Mei almost jumped, but she kept herself composed. She did not move. The person that stood in front of her disappeared along with the wind. He was now behind her. His hands rested on her waist. Since they met, this had to be the 10th time that he laid his hands upon her. "I need to know why you're doing this," she said, as she still did not turn to face him. "Who told you to help us? And why are you doing this? I know that nothing in this world is free, and with the power you possess, you are truly a very dangerous foe to go head to head with a perfect Jinjuliki. So tell me, what is it that you want?" May found herself spun around. He turned her, so she was now looking at him. He looked her over with a smile. "I admire that," he said. "Despite stepping into the unknown, not knowing what you're up against, you stand your ground. There is something very alluring about it," he said, looking her over. He smiled. Despite the uncomfortable situation of not knowing what you want, she had to say, he was the most handsome guy that she's ever seen before. He was just gazing at her until he spoke. "I truly do not desire anything," he said. "My desire was just to help. I will not bother you or your people." He leaned forward, unless, as his hand trailed against her lower back, "You would like to reward me for my generosity," he said. He whispered in her ear. She felt goosebumps appear all over her skin as he was still holding on to her. "Until then," he said. With that, he was just gone. She finally heard "May-sama" as she looked to see her people coming their way. She was alone. All of them waited there. "It's over," she said. "Yagura has finally been defeated." All of them exploded in cheers. Meanwhile, Naruto was standing in front of a large body of water. He held his hand out to show the small orb inside. He placed it in the water before he sunk his fingers inside of it. Suddenly, there was a flash. Emerging from the water was a tiny 3 tails. Its body had reformed. It was small. It looked up at Naruto. Naruto gazed down towards it. It looked at him for a long moment before it went deep, deep down in the water, going away from the human populace. As Naruto stood there, before he teleported away. Later that night, today had been a truly stressful day. Immensely so. She has been through a lot. He was right. All of the ones that he saved, they wanted the Civil War to be over for some time now. So it was much easier than she expected, but it would still need a lot of hard work. However, she hasn't gone through so much just to give up right now. Of course she would not give up. She would be there to guide her people back together. Then why? Why can't she take her mind off him? He was a very powerful person, but at the same time he was filled with darkness. That power generated from him, and it scared her, but at the same time excited her. As she was thinking about him and what he said to her, when suddenly she felt something in her room. She did not move for a moment as she gazed at the corner of her eye to see him sitting down right in the couch. She was shocked. She looked towards the door that was not even open, wondering if he teleported inside. Could he do that? When she noticed that he had a bottle, a very expensive bottle of wine, with 2 glasses in his hand as he poured said wine out. He got to his feet as he walked over and handed her one. She looked at it. The thought of poison did not cross her mind. Why would he do all of that just to poison her now? May was confident in her strength, and she knew that she was powerful to hold her own, but against this man, she wasn't so sure. Just the aura alone that leaked from him in his battle was enough to convey her that he was immensely powerful. She took a sip. This was one of the most expensive wine that she has ever drank. She had seen that label before, when she was younger, and she remembered it. It was one of the most expensive wine to this day. You can only get it from the mountain hills, a very exclusive village. It was said to be one of the richest non-ninja villages. More and more mystery came as she sat down. No words were said between them. "You were thinking about me," he finally spoke. She did not deny or say that it was true. "Did you teleport in here?" she asked. "Not exactly," he said to her. "So, how did you get inside?" "Well, I have a vast array of abilities that can do a lot of things." "Is that so?" "What's your name?" she asked. "I'm Naruto," he said. "Naruto, huh? Where are you from?" she asked him. "What is this? An interrogation?" "Well, I like to know the person that I'm dining with," she said. "Well, if you must know, all over. I don't stay one place for too long. At the moment, I'm on a little trip, and I'm passing through. And I decide to lend you and your village a hand. I realize that Yagura has been tainted, and the things that he's done are just horrible. So I decided to give a helping hand. Someone like you, someone this vastly powerful. Why haven't I heard anything about you?" she said. "Well, I like to remain in the shadows and stick by myself. I don't like to be in the public eye." "Is that so? So why put yourself in the public eye right now?" "Well, I'm not really in it, am I? All those ones that survive, they have no idea what I look like. I made sure of that. And you're the only one that I've truly talking to, other than Yagura, and he's gone now. So does that mean that you're going to end my life so I cannot tell anyone about you?" "Of course not. I know I can trust you with my identity and my name." "Why? You barely know me." The moment she said that, he was on the couch with her. As he gazed at her, his gaze was focused towards her lips. As he looked up towards her eyes, "Well," he said, placing a hand and moving a bang towards her ear. "I can tell a lot by just gazing into someone's eyes." She looked toward his hands. "You like the touch," she said to him. "I find that it's the best way to convey what you truly want to say," said Naruto. As he looked at her, his other hand resting on her thigh, May felt this unusual lust that she has not felt in a long while, this uncontrollable lust that overtook her. Before she knew it, she was sitting on his lap, as she had placed down the wine that she was drinking, tearing his shirt open, and he was reciprocating in full. She had to say, this was not her first time being with someone, of course, but this was beyond anything that anyone could ever expect. She did not know what he was, but there was no way that he was a mere mortal. There was no way that a normal man could make any female feel like that. It seemed to drag on for hours, days. In reality, it was just hours, but time had no meaning. As the both of them spent time together, it had no meaning, no understanding. All it was pleasure, lust, happiness. The Civil War was over. She had to release all of her stress, and she released it all in her fun activities with this man. She just met him, and yet here the both of them were, without their clothing. He not only had physical power, he seemed to have some mental feeling that made you want to live, made you want to experience pleasure, livelihood. She just couldn't explain it. If she had passed up this opportunity, she wouldn't know what she was missing. at all. May woke up the next morning in his arms. She was rather shocked that no one came to awaken her, that no one wanted to talk to her. After all of that happened yesterday. However, Naruto told her that he had it all under control. He did not elaborate what he meant by that. Once she got dressed, and he did as well, he told her that he was going to be leaving. As he said, he lived all over, and he has some business to take care of. He told her that she could do it, not to doubt herself. She's fought bravely, suffered a lot for her people, so this was just the reward that she got. And he told her that she could trust every other that was still alive. He would not elaborate on how he knew that. He told her that it was one of his gifts. May was not so sure, but his gaze made her believe otherwise. She did not know how he did the things that he did. Maybe that was one of the reasons why no one knew about him. He was special. The kiss that he gave her seemed to last for hours. After she opened her eyes, he was gone. He promised that this will not be the last time that she see or hear from him. And she believed him. She showered and dressed. As she made her way outside, when she made contact with people, they say that they spoke into her in the morning. And everything that she had told them was something that the original May would have told them. There was no way that he used a transformation jutsu. Everyone would have sensed it. All of the ninjas. She had a lot of good sensors. So how was he able to fool everyone? Once again, this man with so much mistress. Someone that she barely knew. Time skip. Naruto was standing in the center of a massive ocean. He was looking down towards his reflection. He had told Mito that he would be gone for a few weeks max. This ended much sooner than he thought. Well, he knew that it would, but there was something else that he desired to do. He was speaking to Yamamoto. He asked him if he hated him for abandoning him. Yamamoto of course said no. That he was grateful for all Naruto did. There was a reason why Kurama said those things about him. That he was not a good person, that he just abandoned everything and everyone. Because that was true. He had lived for a long time. Time does not matter to him anymore. When you watch the sun rise, knowing that you may actually outlive it. Time does not seem to matter yet. He finds joy in the smallest things around. Mito was someone dear to him, and they were connected more than she knew. However, there was someone else. There was a lot that he has done in the past. He hadn't heard from her in a few hundred years. She must truly despise him for abandoning her. Maybe he should do right and make up with her and apologize for leaving her. With that, Naruto was gone. However, he had no idea where she was. She was not like the others. She was far stronger. Not stronger than him, of course, but she was able to hide herself from anything and anyone. And he knew if she were ever to find out about Mito, she would not hesitate to try and kill Mito. And that is something that he wouldn't allow. Time skip. A den. A den of vampires. A rather large group. They hunt in the night. The sun was their problem. These newborns. There was only a select few that could walk in the daylight. The others, they hunt at night. The den was filled with nothing but vampires. And a few unfortunate people that happened to be out. Man, woman. They sank their fangs into anyone. It didn't matter who they were. Some of them were drunk on blood, unable to fully remember or understand what they were before. Their souls completely tainted. Being a vampire was not a good thing. Not at all. They were strong, they were fast. They were immortal, but it wasn't good. The door opened as all of them turned their gaze towards a man that stood there. 95% of the population of vampires did not knew who started it all. They heard rumors. They heard about the vampire god. They heard about the one that possessed power that could rock the foundation, that could change landscape with a wave of his hands. And some say that the moment you laid eyes upon him, you know immediately. However, Naruto could allow them not to feel this. He could make them think that he was someone weak, someone that they were powerful then. He stepped in, not trying to cause a commotion. They could instantly tell that he was one of them. However, his skin did not seem pale. It was healthy and flush. He was different. He must be one of the older ones. Many started to turn their gaze away, not wanting to be his victim. Vampires were ruthless, evil, conniving people. Some just enjoy killing, and some of the older ones were truly deadly as well. Naruto sat down at the bar. The bartender was of course a vampire as well. What he was serving was blood. This whole establishment might look normal, but on closer inspection it was not. For hundreds of years now, shinobis have been trying to get rid of the vampire population, but the more they kill, the more they spread. It was easy to turn one into a vampire. An ingestion of their blood and a quick snap of their neck. With the blood inside of their system, they would be reborn, and then they had to feed. However, these were just weaklings who lose their chakra. There was only a select few that obtained powers after their reawakening, and there was only one person that could gift them with such powers, and he was sitting right there. A gorgeous, extremely gorgeous person came walking over. She had long, silver hair, cold dark eyes. She was dressed in a tight black bodysuit that showed all of her curves and a large part of her cleavage. She sat down next to him. "Well, who might you be?" she said. "This is the first time I've seen you in here." "Well, I am new around these parts. However, there is something I desire. Can you help me out with that?" "Well, ask, and I'll see what I can do." "Information," said Naruto. "I want to know about someone. Her name is Amara." The moment Naruto said that, someone over the corner stood up. It was a male. Dark spiky hair, dark eyes. Dressed in expensive clothing. There was a lot of girls, vampires surrounding him. And there was one normal woman, bleeding from the neck, unconscious. As he moved, her body collapsed down to the ground. He stepped towards Naruto. His sharp hearing had picked up on what Naruto had said. "Who the hell are you?" he said. Despite knowing that Naruto was older, knowing that he was not normal, this one was confident enough to step to Naruto. For one simple reason. Amara, she was his queen. He was one of her subjects. Her playthings, as she put it. Her boys that she cared so much about. She was a very old and powerful woman. And he believed that she was one of the strongest that could crush anyone, so he had no problem standing for her without a shred of doubt. Naruto got off the stool as he turned towards him. A smile crept up on his face. "I figured that it would take me a lot longer, but seems I've run into one of her toys." "Is that how she still put it?" "Look, I don't know who the hell you are, but what do you want with Amara?" "I would like to have a word with her. Mind telling me where she is?" "You naive, idiotic fool. Do you even know who she is? Thinking that you can just have a word. What makes you worthy enough to talk to her? Well, I am going to talk to her, and you're going to tell me where she is. The guys start to laugh. I'm one of her many subjects. And when I say many, I mean many. He snapped his finger. Almost a third of the bar got up. They made their way, surrounded Naruto in a circle. As Naruto gazed towards them, all of them, baring their fangs. Now I'll ask you one more time. What do you want with her? He said, glaring at Naruto. Naruto started to chuckle softly. Children, children, children. Always making a fuss. Believing that just because you have quantity, that it is enough to take over quality. But let me show you that it's not. The guy screamed. Naruto had torn his eyes out of his socket. He collapsed back. By the time his eyes regenerate, every single one of them that surrounded Naruto was dead. He backed away in utter shock and fear. All the others ran. They ran away instantly in fear. Naruto stepped forward as he gripped the guy by his throat. He slammed his fist in Naruto's face. But Naruto did not even move. Naruto picked him off the ground. Now, as I was saying, you're gonna tell me where she is. But unlike many others, I don't need you alive for that. A blood-terrifying scream exploded from the bar as Naruto stepped out. As he did, there was nothing left except the bodies that he had ripped apart in just a few seconds like nothing. Her little toy, her pawn, was no longer there. He was gone. No blood, nothing. No sign that he ever existed to begin with. As Naruto left said bar. Time skip. Naruto appeared in front of a massive castle, surrounded by water on all sides. He stepped forward as he started to walk towards it. The closer he got, the more he could feel them. Right when he arrived, something leaped over the wall. Two things to be quite exact. They were taller than Isabu, greater in size than the Three Tails. It was two dogs. These were not normal hounds. Their skin was rotted, demonic, red blood eyes. Their teeth, sharp as any could be, able to tear through solid steel with ease. They pounced upon him, one of them slamming its paw down. However, Naruto's hand had caught said paw and hold it at bay. The other one arrived. It tried to use its nail to crush Naruto like a bug. However, Naruto pushed the paw away, throwing the beast through the sky as it crashed into the water. The other one came down upon him as Naruto jumped and kicked it. It was blasted towards the water as well. Naruto landed as he called out. Amara, he said, call your pets back unless you want them to die. Both dogs came rushing back towards Naruto until a whistle could be heard. They immediately stopped. The both of them quickly jumped over the wall as they shrunk. That was how they were not visible. They shrunk and they were gone. Naruto walked towards the gate. It opened by itself, allowing him entry. As he walked inside, there were countless men all over. And women. None of them were wearing a shirt. They were mostly men. As they walked around, only their lower part had on clothes. Naruto did not pay them any mind. He simply walked. Someone arrived. As a person looked at him, Naruto did not even bother to gaze towards the individual. He knew where she was. The closer he got, the more he could feel her. Naruto arrived in front of a massive door. Said door opened by itself as he stepped inside. There she was, calmly resting on her throne. 4 of her pawns, right beside her, to do as she pleased, for her to command. Naruto stepped forward until he was just a few feet away from her. As he stood there, she slashed at him with her hand. Upon doing so, a red wave of energy slammed into Naruto with tremendous force. He was blasted through the stone wall and blasted through another and another before he crashed up on the beach and slammed right into the water. Naruto started to pick himself up until another wave slammed into him, knocking him deep underwater. Amara now stood at the entrance of her castle, looking down towards the ocean. She held her hand up. Lightning started to gather at the tip of her finger. She shot it in said water, electrifying it. She then raised her hand as the water exploded outwards. It then dropped with a tremendous force, able to crush and flatten anything underneath, to wipe it from the face of the earth. Well, anything except for him. Naruto came out of the water, soaking from head to toe as steam started to release from his body, completely drying him. He was unfazed, untouched. Amara clenched her fist so tight as she gazed upon him. "What are you doing here?" she said, like she did not do anything a moment ago. "I want to talk." Talk? After a few 100 years, you want to talk? Immediately, a sword, created from her own blood, appeared in her hand. She appeared in front of Naruto and drive said sword right through his chest. She twisted. The sword expanded and split him in half, his top half collapsing down to the ground, before his blood simply reconnected his body. "Are you done? Slice." She sliced him in half. Naruto's body reformed instantly. There was no blood, no marks, as he stood in front of her. "Are you done?" he asked her. A dark, red aura started to surround her body, getting more and more powerful, until Naruto stepped forward and grabbed her hand. "Enough! Always doing this, like the spoiled child that you are." "Let go of me," she said, pulling her arm away. "Leave this place now. I do not wish to speak with you." "Go," she said to him. "I'm afraid I can't do that." "Why not? You were so happy to do it before, so why not leave now?" "About that, I don't want to hear your excuses," she said, cutting him off. "You are nothing to me. You mean nothing to me." "Come on now," said Naruto. "Is that any way to talk to your father?" She looked up towards him with a deadly glare. Meanwhile, that was going on. Orochimaru was crawling away. The Sannin was breathing heavily. He was covered in blood. In front of him was at least 15 sound ninjas. All of them were ripped apart, torn apart, their body filleted and burnt. The Sannin was slowly regenerating. The poison was causing his body to regenerate at an extremely slow pace. He's done it. He's created something that he could use. He wanted to create a perfect vessel, but this was progress. In front of the Sannin, lying on the corpses and body parts, something was snoring. A great, powerful beast that the Sannin had just created. An unstoppable force of nature. With a bit more tweaking, it should be able to destroy or erase anything, even the oldest of vampires. Orochimaru did not trust Amara. The way she spoke, what she desired from him, he did not want to owe anyone. Unknown to her, he was creating something, yes. He was trying to make himself the perfect being, but before that, he wanted a lap dog. There was still a bit more tweakings that he had to do. After all, the thing turned upon its master, almost ending his own life. He was going to have to fix that. And once he did, he will have the perfect killing machine locked away, with a venom strong enough to slow down and kill any vampire. It would be able to slow down their regeneration, or maybe even cut it off completely. He needed a vampire to run some testing on. Those sound ninjas were just normal ninjas, and look what his great beast did to them. The Sonian smiled as he picked up himself. After a long while, he was finally regenerated. He made his way. As he pulled out the sealing formula, there was still a bit of a tweaking that he had to do. Meanwhile that was going on, Yamamoto had came back with word to the girls that the Civil War was over. They couldn't believe it. Mito, she knew that Naruto was strong, but to end it so quickly, she asked him where Naruto was. Unfortunately, Naruto was not there. She was confused. He said that he was going to handle it. Yamamoto assured her that he was probably off doing something else. He would be back soon. So she had to just focus on her studies and her training. After all, he did say that he would be back in a few weeks. Maybe there was something else that he had to deal with. While they were on their trip, he was always leaving at night or heading out sometimes. She didn't know what he was up to, but she trusted him. As for Ajisai, now that the Civil War was finally over, she could return home. But she didn't want to. She was learning so much. She didn't have any family left after all. And the old man had become like a grandfather to her. Going back not knowing anyone there. She didn't want that. But she was feeling weird. It was over, so what was his obligation to her now? As she was sitting by herself when Mito came up towards her. "Can I sit?" "I guess," Ajisai said. Mito sat down. Ajisai was a tough person, but she had a good heart. "So, I guess you're happy to hear that the war is over." "I guess." "You don't sound that happy," said Mito. "I am. Can't you see it?" "Well, not really. I've never seen you smile." "Well, I do smile sometimes." "Well, okay," said Mito, "if you say so." You said that you don't have any family left in the village, right?" "What about it?" "Well, you must be feeling strange, not knowing what to do." Ajisai glanced towards her. "I mean, Yamamoto-sensei took you in, and now that the war is over, you think that you're gonna have to go back. You don't even know anyone there. How do you... Well, I simply put myself in your shoes. That's how I would feel. I have a home, but on the road with Naruto, who is like the dad I never had. It's much better. So if you want my advice, it's best if you stay here and get stronger and learn under the person that you came to see as a family until you're sure that it's time for you to go on and live your life." Ajisai was now looking sad. What if he tells me that I have to go back? I mean, he did take me in because of what was going on, and now it's over. Come on now, you know he won't say that. Yamamoto-san is a really nice man, and I'm sure once you talk to him, everything will be alright. Ajisai was not so convinced. However, she at least needed to talk to him. Mito smiled as she made her way off. She decided to hear what they were saying, just a tiny bit. The end of the conversation ended with Ajisai hugging Yamamoto. Of course he would not tell her to leave. Her training was not even complete. And even if, he was glad that she was here. She was happy to hear that. when she lost her parents and her family. She had nothing and no one, so hearing that from him, well, it made her extremely happy as she hugged him, pure joy resonating from her. Mito smiled as she gazed up. She couldn't wait until Naruto returned. She knew her training was not done yet, but she's gotten so much stronger and better with the blade, and she would like to show him. She couldn't wait. Meanwhile, that was going on. Amara was standing face to face with Naruto after what he just said about being her father, as she simply gazed at him inside of her quarters where that portrait was. She was there, much younger than she was right now. Behind her was Naruto. It was a painting. And on the other side of Naruto there was a boy. He was standing there and smiling happily. Meanwhile, the elemental nation was just one continent. Yes, where the other nations were, it was just one continent. The world was a very big place. Across the massive ocean leading towards the other continent, there was a whole nother civilization, vast and large. There was a literal empire, a massive location, standing at the tallest, most gigantic castle was a man. As he gazed down towards the populace down below, his hair was bright silver, exactly like the boy in the portrait that Amara has, standing right beside Naruto. But guys, be and subscribe right here. If you want to see next part, do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification to stay posted. But I'm off and I'll see you guys soon. Peace.